to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Thousands gathered in North Carolina Thursday for the funeral of 3 Muslim students shot dead by a gunman who'd posted anti-religious messages online. Razan Mohammed Abu Salah and her sister Yusur and Yusur's husband, Dia Barakat, were killed execution-style in what family members call a hate crime. Suspected gunman Craig Stephen Hicks has been charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. Hicks had frequently posted anti-religious comments on his Facebook page. Police say an early probe suggests the killings resulted from a parking dispute, a claim the victim's family and friends reject. The FBI is also investigating. A crowd of over 5,000 people packed a soccer field at North Carolina State for Thursday's service, paying tribute to the victims and demanding justice for their murders. In international news, 8 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed and several dozen wounded in continued fighting in eastern Ukraine. The violence comes just after Ukraine and Russia agreed to a new ceasefire at a summit in Belarus. But the truce won't take effect till Sunday. New shelling has been reported today in the rebel strongholds of Luhansk and Donetsk. In Washington, State Department spokesperson Jen Psaki said despite the ceasefire, the U.S. has not ruled out new sanctions on Russia or sending military aid to Ukraine.
An agreement is a piece of paper unless it's implemented. And so what we've seen to date is that Russia and Russian-backed separatists have not taken the steps to implement. We will see what they do from here. We have had long ongoing conversations with our European partners about additional steps that could be taken. And if it's not implemented or there's additional aggression, that's something we will continue to discuss.
The European Union has also threatened new sanctions on Russia if the deal is broken. The United Nations has warned Yemen is on the brink of civil war and risks complete political collapse. Yemen has been in limbo since Houthi rebels forced the resignation of the Yemeni cabinet and then seized power. Addressing the Security Council, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said Yemen faces a host of additional issues, including an al-Qaeda's insurgency and a major humanitarian crisis.
Let me be clear. Yemen is collapsing before our eyes. We cannot stand by and watch. The country is facing multiple challenges. A dangerous political crisis continues in Sana'a. There are more widespread and lethal attacks by al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, with increasing hostilities between AQAP and the Houthis in various provinces south of Sana'a, such as Damar and al-Baida. There are increasing secessionist tendencies in the south and an acute humanitarian crisis.
The U.S., Britain, and France have closed their embassies in the capital Sana'a over security concerns. On Thursday, al-Qaeda-linked fighters seized an army base in southern Yemen and held soldiers captive. At least 19 people have been killed and more than 60 wounded in an attack on a Shia mosque in the northwestern Pakistani city of Peshawar. At least 4 suicide bombers wearing the uniforms of state forces reportedly hit the mosque during prayers. A federal judge has ordered the enforcement of her earlier decision striking down Alabama's ban on same-sex marriage. The ruling went into effect this week, but the state's Supreme Court Chief Justice Roy Moore sowed confusion after ordering judges and officials to ignore it. The ruling by U.S. District Court Judge Calais Grenade was directed to just one judge in Mobile County, but is seen as a signal to judiciaries across the state. Judges in just 1/3 of Alabama's 67 counties have issued marriage licenses to LGBT couples so far. With the new federal ruling, Mobile County resident Mark Stewart said he intends to marry his partner.
We go to church every Sunday. We work like regular folks, and we go and pay our taxes. We go home, watch TV like everybody else, and this is just our town, and we just want to be recognized in this town as being us. I've been with him 18 years, and yeah, he's going to be stuck with me now.
Kansas Republican Governor Sam Brownback has repealed a measure that protects state employees from workplace discrimination based on gender identity or sexual orientation. Governor Brownback's executive order undoes a move by his predecessor that widens safeguards for LGBT public employees. The Pentagon's approved hormone therapy treatment for the gender transition of U.S. Army whistleblower Chelsea Manning, previously known as Bradley. Manning announced she identified as a woman and planned to seek hormone replacement treatment after her 2013 conviction for passing cables to WikiLeaks. She sued the Pentagon last year for denying gender transition medical care and failing to follow other protocols for treating gender dysphoria. In a memo this month, a military official confirmed hormone therapy will be added to Chelsea Manning's treatment plan. The Senate has confirmed Ashton Carter as the new Secretary of Defense. President Obama tapped Carter after forcing the ouster of Chuck Hagel late last year. Carter has a long history at the Pentagon, where he once served as the chief arms buyer. In 2006, he backed a preemptive strike against North Korea if the country continued with a planned missile test. Carter has recently voiced support for arming Ukraine and opposing the transfer of prisoners from Guantanamo. The Senate approved his bid with an overwhelming 93-5 vote. Students at Harvard University are staging a sit-in to demand their school join the growing list of institutions divesting from fossil fuels. The campus-led divestment movement calls for purging investment portfolios of assets tied to companies that drive and profit from global warming. Harvard's endowment is the largest of any school in the world at $36.4 billion. The students launched their sit-in inside a building housing the offices of school administrators, including President Drew Fast. Hundreds of actions are expected around the world today and Saturday as part of Global Divestment Day. FBI Director James Comey has called on police nationwide to confront what he said is unconscious racial bias in the wake of a spate of killings of unarmed African Americans. In an unprecedented speech for an FBI chief, Comey said the nation's endemic racism must be addressed.
Much research points to the widespread existence of unconscious bias. Many people in our white majority culture have unconscious racial biases and react differently to a white face than a black face. Police officers on patrol in our nation's cities often work in environments where a hugely disproportionate percentage of street crime is committed by young men of color. Something happens to people of goodwill working in that environment. After years of police work, officers often can't help but be influenced by the cynicism they feel. A mental shortcut becomes almost irresistible and maybe even rational by some lights. We need to come to grips with the fact that this behavior complicates the relationship between the police and the communities they serve.
FBI Director Comey is known to keep a copy of the FBI's wiretap order targeting Dr. Martin Luther King as a reminder of the agency's past misdeeds. And the New York Times media columnist David Carr has died. Carr collapsed at the New York Times newsroom Thursday night and was pronounced dead shortly after. Hours before, he'd moderated a panel discussion at the New School on the documentary Citizen4, along with its director, Laura Poitras, reporter Glenn Greenwald, and the film's lead subject, Edward Snowden, who was video streamed from Russia. Carr overcame a major addiction to crack cocaine in the late 80s and went on to become a celebrated writer on media and culture. He was 58 years old. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.